"2025 marks the 70th anniversary of the television show The Adventures of Robin Hood, starring Richard Green. You can hear an in-depth discussion of the show on episode 27 of Into the Greenwood. It is genuinely one of my favorite episodes we have ever done. To celebrate the 70th anniversary, we'll be releasing a few of these sort of mini reviews of various episodes alongside several friends of the show throughout the rest of 2025. I hope you enjoy these little jaunts into the Sherwood Forest of yesteryear.
Robin Hood, riding through the glen. Robin Hood, with his band of men.
Okay, we are back for watching another episode of The Adventures of Robin Hood for its 70th anniversary. And joining me this time is Emily Holt, who keen-eared listeners of the show will remember from our big Splitting Arrows episode about The Adventures of Robin Hood, from which I think it's safe to say you are a fan of the show. Is that right, Emily?
I am definitely a fan of the show. I love this show. I think it's probably my favorite Robin Hood show of all of them.
Wow. Okay. We'll see if that holds up next month when there's a brand new Robin Hood show.
Ooh, this is true. I am excited for that.
Yeah, we'll see. But the episode we're going to watch today is not one you have seen before. You watched much of the show, but this one will be new for you.
It is. Yeah. I have not quite gotten to this part of the show.
Yes, we're going all the way to the later part of Season 3. So this is Season 3, Episode 24, an episode entitled Roman Gold, which we've been waiting to watch together for quite a while. I've seen it before, and I immediately said, "Ooh, Emily, we need to watch this episode together, because it's about Robin Hood doing archaeology."
I am super excited to see Robin Hood the archaeologist. This is combining two things that I deeply love, so I'm really enthused.
Right, and you are not just a fan of archaeology, though. You are, in fact, a professional archaeologist.
I am, in fact, a professional archaeologist, yes. I run an excavation and survey project in Sardinia that looks at the Bronze Age Nuragic culture. It's located in the town of Sidi, which is in kind of central southern Sardinia. And we're currently excavating a site called Seconca Secresia, which is a very early Nuragic structure dating to the kind of the first development of the Nuragic culture. So I am very much an active practicing archaeologist.
And you also got your degree in classics, so even though your specialization is not really Rome, you also have excavated in Italy at Roman sites too.
I have. I spent six summers excavating at a project in Pompeii. So, yes, Roman archaeology is not my specialization, but I do have a good bit of experience with Roman archaeology, and I did get my undergraduate degree in classical languages, so have some connection to the classical world as well.
Yes, and now Robin Hood will too, presumably in this episode about an archaeological treasure that he discovers in Sherwood Forest.
So excited.
Yeah, so we're going to watch the show, then we'll come back to give our little review.
And today is... Don't forget to mention.
That's right. The day we are recording this is October 18th, which is...
International Archaeology Day.
Mm-hmm.
So we are combining our celebration of the 70th anniversary of the show with International Archaeology Day.
Can't wait.
Awesome.
All right, we'll be right back. Okay, so we've just watched the episode Roman Gold, which... starts with Little John and Derwent of the Merry Men out hunting for some venison, and Derwent's shot goes awry, and instead of going anywhere near the deer he was aiming for, he hits a vase in a cart being pushed by this old man walking along the road. The man is incensed, and it turns out that all of these pots and vases that he has are these old, damaged bits of pottery, and Little John and Derwent are quite confused and rather bemused by the old man and his protectiveness about them, as he explains that these are ancient relics that he has uncovered from a Roman villa in the area, and he is seeking to bring these to Nottingham to help preserve them, and also hire some laborers to assist him with his excavation. Robin Hood comes upon the scene, and it turns out that he knows this man. He is one Dr. Quince, who was an antiquarian working with King Richard I on the Crusades to help learn more about early Christian relics in particular. He goes and feasts with the merry men. He tells them all about their work. He shows them these Roman coins that he's discovered and mentions that they come from this villa of a Septimus Superbus, who is this figure that they've all heard legends about, a Roman who lived in Britain many centuries ago and who supposedly was this great collector of art, a patron of early Christians, and was in possession of a great treasure. And that is the thing that everybody has, of course, latched onto, that he possessed this great treasure, and the outlaws all want to go find this treasure. And the doctor, the archaeologist, although they never used that term, of course, because why would they have in the late 12th century? Archaeology, not really a discipline at the time, but that is clearly what this character is. Tells them, no, there is no gold, there's no treasure. It's about uncovering these works of art. It's about learning about the past. But Robin is convinced that this sounds like a worthy endeavor, treasure or no, and he and the merry men go and serve as the excavators working at this site. This old Roman villa. We have some charming scenes of them engaging in the archaeological work. We'll come back to that in a little bit. As a good archaeologist, Dr. Quince is very concerned about the preservation of the relics that they've uncovered and wants to take them to Nottingham where they can be secured and safe and preserved. And also, he needs to hire some carters there to help with the transport of things. So he goes off to Nottingham by himself, meets up with Friar Tuck, unfortunately tries to pass off some of his ancient Roman coins as real coins and gets arrested for fraud, which brings him to the attention of the Sheriff of Nottingham, who has also heard this legend of treasure, and being the sort of greedy individual that the sheriff is, ultimately decides to send the archaeologist Dr. Quince on his way, but with his own men as the carters and also himself and other men following at a discreet distance. There was a whole back and forth between Dr. Quince and this other historian, which was very charming, this kind of debate between two supposed academics who had different opinions about whether or not this treasure was real, which reminded me of online discourse that I have seen today. In the meantime, while he's away, the merry men find a hidden chamber underneath the villa where there is this great big locked chest that seems to be the treasure. Friar Tuck arrives. He thinks that Dr. Quince is still captive at this point, and he tells Robin Hood this, and Robin Hood decides, well, the sheriff must be after this treasure. I'll arrange an exchange. And he writes a note, I'll give you this treasure that we found. Please let Dr. Quince go. But then he finds on the road, as he's going to Nottingham to deliver this note, the sheriff and Dr. Quince. The sheriff has seized Dr. Quince because he's sure Quince has led him to where the villa site is at this point. Well, there's again a little more back and forth, but basically the sheriff agrees to this exchange, the doctor for the treasure. There's a tense standoff at the site of the Roman villa with the sheriff's crossbowmen at one side and the outlaws with their longbows at the other. And, Robin makes sure that Dr. Quince is unbound and safe before he hands this sealed treasure chest over to the sheriff. They then open the chest then and there, but inside all they find is a box with a piece of parchment. The sheriff is incensed and angry, calls it a trap, but with the merry men there, with their bows drawn, he decides it's not worth trying to risk his own life to try to make amends at that moment or capture Robin, so he leaves. Friar Tuck takes a look at the parchment and reveals that this is in fact a great treasure, especially for somebody like Dr. Quince, who is interested in early Christian history, because it is an original epistle from St. Paul to the Romans. So it is the great Roman treasure in a very important historical sort of way. And the show ends kind of on that charming note with this important historical but not gold valuable treasure having been found. What did you think of it, Emily?
It was fantastic. It was really adorable. I liked it quite a lot. There were a lot of wonderful little details that were super fun for an archaeologist. Wow, they were not digging stratigraphically, like, at all.
They were not using the best methodology for archaeology? Okay.
They were not using the best methodology, but there was a really notable difference between Little John, who was just hacking at the ground with a spade, and Robin, who's like over in a corner, like carefully, studiously brushing something. So they did make a point of there's different levels of methodology happening at this site.
Well, and I loved in that scene, Dr. Quince like runs over to Little John to admonish him for his carelessness. Well, you see Robin doing it properly in the corner.
Oh yeah, yeah. Definitely been there and done that as an excavation director. No, don't hack at the ground. But another great detail was, and I mean, my great kudos to them, they were sifting. Mm-hmm. They were sifting their excavated sediment, which, we, didn't really do that in the bad old days.
Well, maybe it was a technique that was lost between the 12th century and the 19th.
Exactly. Dr. Quince and Robin Hood innovated the sifter. We just forgot about it.
Yeah.
Had to reinstitute it later. But that was great. And, weirdly or perhaps practically enough, it looked exactly like the sifters we built now.
Yeah.
Totally. Sifters have not changed from Robin Hood's day to our day.
That was the moment that made me realize, I need to show this to Emily, seeing the Outlaws of Sherwood Forest using a sifter.
Yeah, that's just fantastic. I also loved the moment when Robin comes up to Dr. Quince with what looks like it's supposed to probably be like a carved alabaster vase. And Dr. Quince's comment is like, "Oh, this is a proper original Greek artifact, not some cheap Roman copy." And I think any classical archaeologist would have to snicker at that, just with the underhanded blow at the Romans doing all of their bronze copies of Greek marbles. So there was a lot in the episode to geek out about and to be a lot of little Easter eggs for us archaeologists.
Yeah, it's. As a Robin Hood episode goes, there wasn't like a lot of dynamic action. There was no like fight scenes that occurred, but there still was this fun Robin Hood-ness to the whole thing, with them bringing Dr. Quince back to their camp to dine with them, which is, of course, the like most classic Robin Hood thing that exists, going back to the actual ballads and stories from the Middle Ages. But then the fun inversion of that with Dr. Quince being like, "Oh, yeah, I'm happy to pay," and producing these Roman coins that he had found, and that's starting the whole discussion and adventure. And then Robin tying the message to an arrow that he shoots into a stump near where the sheriff is, and having Friar Tuck as the go-between and the learned churchman who can help decipher things. It was really fun in that way, fun seeing those characters, fun seeing the difference in how Robin Hood approached this project and how Little John approached this project.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it was a good Robin Hood episode, and I think really in character with the Robin Hood of this series, who is an educated aristocrat who's had his land stolen, and that interpretation of Robin Hood. And there's other little details of it where Little John asks if Robin Hood can read the Latin inscription on the treasure chest, and Robin says, "Well, I can try," because chances are he has had a smattering of some Latin tutoring as a youth, but obviously he's going to pass it off to Friar Tuck, who's had a proper education. But yeah, there's a number of kind of little fun references.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I also really loved the idea of Dr. Quince being an antiquarian on Richard the Lionheart's crusades, which initially made me go, "That's ridiculous. I can't imagine Richard taking an antiquarian on his crusades." But then I remembered Richard is actually supposed, my understanding is that Richard was really very highly educated and actually spoke Latin fluently and had an appreciation for the past. So now I'm not so sure. I still find it really unlikely, but whatever. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. And an antiquarian.
And the point of the crusade, the Third Crusade, was the kind of recapture of Jerusalem. So it is supposed to be this holy crusade for the purpose of, Christianity writ large. And this antiquarian was a specialist in early Christian history. So the idea of having somebody who really studied and knew about Christianity there to be present makes some sense.
Yeah. By the end of the episode, I was like, all right, I don't know if this is true or not, but I am willing to suspend disbelief. I will accept Dr. Quince, the antiquarian of the Third Crusade.
And and then the connection with there being this original manuscript from St. Paul there at the end as the real treasure, because it's pretty obvious to anybody who is genre savvy at all that there's not going to be a gold treasure. But it was also really fun having it be actually something that would be really important from a historical perspective, as opposed to an Indiana Jones ooh, it's the Holy Grail kind of thing, something that is still really flashy.
This show does such a great job of that. One of my favorite episodes of the show is the one where Friar Tuck uses medieval law to outsmart the sheriff and basically redistribute wealth to the serfs. And it really the whole episode hinges on this minor technicality of medieval law and inheritance. And the show is just so delightfully nerdy in that way. It doesn't shy away from those kind of moments that hinge on something more intellectual than something, as you say, flashy. And this episode was a great example of that.
Mm-hmm. So, while of course, when it comes to the archaeology that they showed happening, there were lots of things where it's ooh, that is not best practice. But there was also a lot of things where it's oh, that the sifting we were saying, well, that's actually anachronistic to how anybody would be excavating in the 12th century. Not that.
I assume maybe they were just really good excavators back then. And as you say, in the Dark Ages, we just kind of, lost everything.
But I am genuinely having a hard time thinking of any media that shows archaeology being done any better than that.
I would mostly agree up until the recent movie, The Dig.
The Dig, yeah.
Which was really, I thought, excellent in terms of showing and addressing the archaeology of its time. Mm-hmm. It had absolutely lovely, lovely and loving descriptions of sediment. I really appreciated that.
All right, so yeah.
But I would agree that in general, archaeology is rarely shown the way it's really done.
Mm-hmm. And while this is, of course, not how it's really done,
sifters.
You'll get a better sense of it from this than you will from Indiana Jones.
Agreed. Like I said, I love that sifter.
Yeah. Well, and not even just the sifter, the careful brushing that Robin was doing, and even just some of the discussions, the arguments that Dr. Quince was making about why they were there and the usefulness of this and the purpose of this.
Mm-hmm. True. With his interest in early Christian history and trying to there's a point in the episode where they say that this supposed Septimus Superbus was a devout Christian and was kind of famous for being an early Christian. So the idea that they're actually going into the site with a research objective to understand early Christianity through the collections and knowledge of this person who was a known early Christian. That is something that archaeologists really try to do. Approach a site with a research objective, with a plan for a specific kind of, or several specific things that you're trying to uncover, and how are you going to go about that, and what's going to give you that information. So yeah, okay. Research question oriented. That's also good.
Also, his concern about the preservation of the artifacts once they've been excavated.
Very true. That's real and important and expensive and difficult and problematic, and definitely something that archaeologists deal with or should deal with all the time. And yeah, the fun part is taking it out of the ground, of course, at least for us field archaeologists. Conservators would disagree. But for us field archaeologists, the digging it out's the fun part. But we do have a responsibility to figure out how it's going to be preserved and studied and maintained and become, part of a long-term patrimony. I did appreciate the fact that Dr. Quince immediately said, we can't leave this stuff out in the open air in the weather, that will destroy it. Like, wow, good conservator instincts there.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of, I really do question though, I gotta say, preservation of a parchment in a stone box.
Right. It was in shockingly good shape.
Britain is not known for its great preservation conditions for organic materials. So little dubious on that count. But yeah, the general instinct for conservation was good and real.
Yeah. So the parchment was in a box, looked like a wooden box. And then that box had a lot of layers of wrapping around it that was then inside another chest that was inside what did seem to be some kind of like sealed underground chamber.
Yeah, this is a really wet island. Famously so. I have my doubts. I am unconvinced.
I'm just assuming it was hermetically sealed.
Yes, definitely, clearly. Septimus Superbus and his hermetically sealed stone box.
Yeah, well, the chamber itself.
The chamber itself.
Yeah. I mean, that's
clearly
how it was preserved so well.
Mm-hmm. The arcane knowledge of the early Christians, how to create hermetically sealed chambers for your manuscripts.
Maybe it was the equivalent of the miracles that we see in the Indiana Jones movie, and just a little bit of supernatural element where the Christian artifact was mystically preserved.
Fair enough.
For convenience sake.
All right. If I can accept that the Holy Grail grants eternal life, I can accept that.
Yeah. The supernatural power of this important early Christian artifact is that it hasn't fully decayed.
Yeah, fair enough.
All right. Well, any last thoughts on the episode?
Only that I love Robin Hood all the more for being an archaeologist. Yeah. This has confirmed his place in my heart.
Perfect. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was a delight.
Feared by the bad, loved by the good, Robin